afternoon to one and all. Thank you for joining us in today's Hangouts with HealthifyMe. I have with us here Pragya. She's a senior yoga coach. Most of you would have seen her in our previous Hangouts. So recently, Pragya, myself, and a couple of us at HealthifyMe and some of our clients as well, we did the Pinkathon, which was 5K, 3K, 5K, and the 10K run organized in Bangalore. And this was Pragya's first time running. Right?
Yeah, and in fact, I did 5 kilometers. I was not ready for that. I had not prepared at all. And even when we were standing on the starting line, I was telling my friends, we can just do a brisk walk, and let's not put too much pressure on ourselves. And I was really happy and surprised about the fact that I was actually able to do the 5 kilometers, no stopping, constant pace. And I was just elated by that, which made me feel that, maybe if you focus on holistic fitness, on a good diet, on regular workouts, on different kinds of workouts, sometimes your health, your level of fitness sometimes ends up surprising you. So I was really happy about that. And it was a big achievement for me last Sunday. And I thought that, being a yoga instructor, the first thing that came to mind was that I don't want stiff and sore muscles, which is what generally tends to happen when you run for a long time after a long break, or run a long distance. It happens to everyone. And so my instincts were to just stretch all the time, stretch after the run, before you sleep, when you wake up. So that's what I was doing, and perhaps because of that, it wasn't really bad for me. I don't feel stiff. I don't feel any pain or any aches, and so I thought, I've been doing that on Facebook. I've been uploading pictures on Facebook about the different stretches that I've been doing, thinking that maybe it's going to help a lot of people, because we had a huge turnout for the Pinkathon. Mm-hmm. A lot of women have started participating all over India, and I thought, okay, maybe this sort of thing would be helpful to a lot of people. And then, we thought at HealthifyMe that, a lot of clients, because we did meet a lot of our clients at the Pinkathon, we thought it would be beneficial for everyone to see live how these stretches are done, because yoga is not just about like the final posture, but of course it's about how you get into the posture, and there's so many finer points which I am unable to sort of convey in a picture, and we thought we'd do a hangout for that.
Right. And so if you're a runner, you're into running, and you want to see how you can incorporate yoga, your asanas into your routine, I'm going to leave it to Pragya, and she's going to take you through some of these asanas. As usual, ask your questions down below in the Hangouts box, and Pragya will answer them towards the end of the session. So Pragya, over to you.
Great, and everyone in the office is actually following along with me, and I expect and I would hope that a lot of you watching at home are also following along. These asanas are very simple, but they go a long way in really opening up your lower body, which again has a good impact on your lower back. So a lot of you who complain about lower backache or tight hamstrings, tight thighs, glutes, all of that can be fixed by regularly practicing these asanas. And these asanas can be held for up to 2 minutes at a time, which is what we're going to try and do right now. Or you can just practice them in the morning and then in the evening, right before you sleep. So the first asana is the Janusirsasana. So if you've been following me on my Facebook page, you've seen the first asana. Basically, it's called head to toe touch, or head to knee touch, Janusirsasana. So what you're going to do, and everyone right now should do, is extend your right leg out and pull your left leg in so that the heel rests gently against the groin region. So you're not. What happens is a lot of people tend to take this leg all the way to this side, all the way under the right leg, which is not what we want. You want this leg to gently rest on the floor and the heel comfortably, gently pushing into the groin region. And you want to keep the back straight, and you want to try to get your shoulders as squared as possible, hips as well. And you want to reach forward, making sure that the back is absolutely straight. So what most people tend to do is they curve the back and then they try and touch the toes, okay? And even if you're not touching the toes, some people just remain here. So this is really bad for your back. This is actually not giving you any kind of stretch on the leg. It's not giving you any kind of stretch on the back also, and it's just curving your back, which is not what you want to do. You want to do the exact opposite. You want to prevent from curving the back. So what you want to do is make sure this femur bone, this is the femur bone here, make sure that it's pushing into the hip joint and bend from the hips. And keep the back as straight as possible, and then come down. So in some photographs, you may have seen me crossing my arms. This is just to keep the back even more straight and keep your shoulder blades opened up and keep your torso also as straight as possible. And let's continue holding this. You can hold like this or like this. And I've brought along a yoga belt or a rope. And this is actually a prop that we use in Iyengar Yoga, which is the kind of yoga that I specialize in, that I practice. And these props can be used for many things. You can be very innovative with these props. So for those people who cannot reach or who are here, what I want you to do is grab a hold of anything which resembles a rope or a belt, and use that to straighten the back. So you see, rather than doing this, I want to keep my back straight. So even if I'm right here, I'm still keeping my back straight. So I'm going to keep my belly button slightly pulled in, the heel pushed out, toes pulled in towards myself, and that in itself will give you a great stretch, an uninterrupted stretch from the back of the ankles all the way down to the glutes. And go ahead and hold it. And when you get more comfortable and your body opens up, you'll actually be able to move forward with the belt guiding you, and eventually you will even be able to come all the way down, as far down as you can go. But the back is supposed to be absolutely straight. So let's hold it for about 5 breaths. So I'm just going to do my 5 breaths here. Everyone at home following me, go ahead and do that. Okay, and come on. And let's do the same thing on the other side. So yoga is all about balance. That's what I keep on saying. So whatever you do on the right side, you have to do it on the left side. And what's really important to remember is that the left side, if you're right-handed, the left side of your body is usually the stiffer part. So what happens is that you're unable to touch or reach as much as you would with the right side, and so people cheat on the left side. So you'll only breathe for 2 minutes, or you'll only breathe twice and then come up. But what you need to do and what you should do is focus more on the left side, on the side which is more stiff, on the side which needs more help, and try and stay there for a little longer, so maybe for 6 breaths or 7 breaths. So again, the same thing, let's do it on the other side. Make sure that the femur bone is pushing into the hip joint, back is straight, lead from the chest forward, belly button pulled in slightly, not pulled in too much, but pulled in slightly, and reach forward and see how far. Use your hands to pull yourself forward. Do not curve the back, keep the back long, only then you'll get a stretch, the uninterrupted stretch that I was talking about from the back of the ankles all the way to the back of the glutes. And this releases a lot of tension from your lower back as well. So go ahead and hold this for some time. Let's hold it for about 5 breaths, or maybe let's make it 6 breaths since the left side is always a little more stiff. So another variation of the pose is just to hold your wrist and come down and hold it. Let's hold it for 6 breaths. Make sure the breaths are very deep and long. And come up. So just with this, whether you've used your rope or you've used your, just your hands, you should already feel a sense of openness in your lower body. So, so then we can move on to the next asana. So the next asana is the Paschimotanasana. So what you want to do is, it's basically the same thing, the same cues, everything remains the same except both legs are forward. So here what you're going to do is, what happens is, people tend to sit like this, okay? And this is really bad for your back because you're just compressing the spine. So basically what happens is, most of the day, for like 16 hours a day, you're either sitting or you're standing and you're compressing the spine. And so when you sit like this, without any back support, you tend to compress the spine even more. So my spine is curved right now. Although I can't see it, I can feel that the spine is curved. So what you want to do is, initially for any asana, you want to sit up straight. And this movement of straightening your spine starts from your belly. So you pull the belly in slightly. Again, the navel is being pulled in slightly. And you straighten the back. So you push the chest up a little bit, sternum lifts up, shoulders go back, and your body should be basically at a right angle. So when you're at in this position, it becomes easier to kind of push the femur bones into the hip joint and bend from the hip joint instead of bending from the upper back. If you bend from the upper back, you're straining the neck too much, and even if you can reach, this movement isn't doing anything great for you. In fact, it's causing more back pain. It's causing more of a compression on the back. So what you want to do is, you want to sit up straight, and it really helps to take the glutes and really pull the glutes out from under you, creating space in the hip joint. And then when you move forward, whether you can use the belt also if you want. When you move forward, you're able to keep the back straight. So the femur bones automatically push into the hip joint. Belly button descends on your on the thighs, and instead of touching your forehead to the knee, which is like a popular misconception in this pose, what you can actually do is bring your chin beyond the knee, and so your face rests closer to your ankles. So it's a popular misconception that you have to touch the forehead to the knee. That's quite easy to do if you have like improper alignment of the back. But what's more difficult is to elongate the back a little bit more and just sort of fold over. So you're just folding your body into two. So let's try that. So for those of you who have a belt available, you can use the belt and keep your back straight, and then adjust, like hold the belt wherever you can, however forward you can come with the back straight. Or if you don't need the belt, go ahead and hold the sides of your feet and really work on elongating the back. So the back should remain as straight as you can. Continue looking forward. You can keep your gaze on the toes and come as far down as you can. Again, we're going to hold for 5 breaths. So keep your back straight. Continue reaching out from the top of the head. So you're just elongating your back. And then come down as far as you can. So as you can see, my chin goes beyond the level of my knees, which is the way this pose is supposed to be done. Instead of compressing the back and doing this, that's not the right way. What you want to do is you want to keep the back straight. Make sure the femur bones are pushing into the hip joint. The hip joint opens up also, and you get a great stretch all through the back of your legs, which again helps in tension release of your in the back and in the hip region. You can come all the way down and hold it. And then come up. And when you do this, you should automatically feel that the back is straight. You feel a sense of openness in the all the way up to the upper back, maybe even on the neck. Okay, good. And by now you should feel a lot of endorphins releasing because you've actually worked on releasing a lot of tension from the back of the legs. Okay, so the next asana is the Anjaneyaasana. So in this asana, you're going to have to adjust your body a little bit. So you're going to bring the right leg forward and the left leg back. And make sure that your fingertips and your toes are in one line. So a lot of people, what they tend to do is this. Okay, this is the incorrect posture because you will not get any kind of stretch. What you must do is bring the foot in between your hands so that the toes and the fingertips are in one line. And what another problem that, or another alignment issue with a lot of people is that they will bring the back foot here. So essentially, their front leg and back, it's making a box, it's making a right angle. Now that's not going to give you any kind of stretch also. So what you want to do is lift the back knee up, take the back leg as far back as you can, place the back knee on the floor, and automatically, if you're doing this, you'll start to feel the stretch. And in the front leg, the thing to remember is that the knee and the ankle should be in one line. Okay, so a lot of people do this. This is incorrect. Although it will give you the stretch, it's still straining the knee joint a lot. And after a run, and if you are a runner, your knees are constantly stretched. Your ankles are constantly stressed, and we don't want to add on to that. So what you want to do is come back, make sure that the knee and the ankle are in one line, and square the hips. What that means is that both the hip bones should be at an equal distance from the wall in front of you. So if you're doing something like this, you're opening up the hip joint, and that sort of changes the stretch, and that imbalances, that creates an imbalance on your hip joint and on the entire alignment of the body, and that's not what we're looking at. So what you want to do is keep the hip joint squared, and then lift your hands up and look, gaze at your thumbs, and continue to open up the chest. So don't do this. This is not what we're looking at, because you will not feel any kind of stretch when you do this. What you want to do is try and sink the hips down as close to the floor as you can, get the groin region as close to the floor as you can, and open up. And again, hold it for 5 breaths. So let's do that. Okay, come down, and let's do the same thing on the other side. So once again, bring the other leg in, and take the back leg as far back as you can, groin region as close to the floor as possible. And a lot of you who are following my Yoga with Pragya Facebook page may have seen a comment by one of my followers and one of my friends who's saying that you'll be able to do splits soon. So yes, this pose is a preparation for going into the splits, which is also called the Hanumanasana. And that's simply because it is giving you a deep stretch on the glutes, on your thighs, everywhere, on the hip joint. And it is a preparatory pose for a lot of these difficult asanas, for a lot of these advanced asanas. So let's go ahead and do the Anjaneyaasana on this side as well. Look up and breathe 5 times. Remember to reach back, open up the chest, continue to sink your hips down into the floor as much as you can, and look up. And go ahead and come down. So this is a little more advanced, and you should feel a great amount of release in this. And after this, you can come into the Vajrasana to kind of stabilize the hip joints a little bit, and to kind of provide a little bit of a relief to your hip joint and to your legs. Okay. So moving on, the next one is the Parshvottanasana. So what you're going to do is, for this asana, come to a standing position and separate your legs about 4.5 feet apart. Okay? Yeah. The taller you are, the more you spread your legs. And then turn the right foot out. So we're doing it on the right side first. Turn the right foot out, and left foot in at an angle a little bit. And then once again, square the hips. Okay, so what a lot of people do is they keep the hips like this, but that's incorrect. You want to square the hips. A lot of you may find it difficult to balance when the hips are squared. Also, prevent from doing this. Okay, the back has to be absolutely straight. Only then are the glutes going to work. Only then are the knees going to work. Only then you'll find a stability in the pose. And then what you want to do is, you want to get your hands up next to your ears, and then come down, keeping the back straight. Again, it's all about the back. Keep the back straight. Only then are you going to find a release and a stretch on your glutes. So here again, a lot of people tend to do this. Okay, so your hips are leaning to one side. Okay, now that's actually incorrect, because your body just falls out of alignment. What you want to do is keep the hip joint always square. So even when you're coming down, you're focusing on getting this hip down in the same level as the other hip. So you're actually pulling this leg in, making sure that you don't jut your hips out. You want to keep your hips in one line. Look forward, straighten the back. The more you straighten the back, the more stretch you feel. And if you can, place your hands on the floor. And if you're even more flexible, you could come all the way down. And come up. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this time you take the left leg out, right leg in, and once again, see the hip joint is open. Like if you observe here, the hip joint is open, which leaves you prone to injury, because again, it leaves you open to an imbalance in the body. So what you want to do is, again, I'm going to show it on the other side so that you can see a different view of the asana. So what you want to do is, you want to keep the hip joint squared. So notice how when my hip joint is not squared, how the legs are splayed out, and that's not what you want. What you want to do is keep your torso facing forward. Visualize an imaginary wall in front of you, and the hips and the torso is squared. That also impacts a lot on the alignment of your spine with your hip joint. And that is what we're looking at when we look at releasing a lot of tension, a lot of stress from the body. We want to make sure that the alignment of the spine sits correctly with the alignment of the hip joint. Okay, so you're here, take your arms up. Again, I cannot see myself, but if I do this, I can feel that this is an incorrect posture. So a lot of people who have stiff hips are unable to keep their torso straight. So you want to make sure that your torso is straight. Notice how I'm pulling this leg in. The hips are not splayed out. The hips are in line with each other. Hands up and slowly come down. Refrain from opening the hips up. Refrain from, like going to one side or jutting your hips out to one side. Keep your hips level. Keep your hips square. Keep the back straight. The more straight your back, the more this femur bone, the same principle as in the first two asanas, the femur bone pushes into the hip joint, creating length in the spine, in the torso. And you can place your hands, if you're flexible, a little more flexible, you can place your hands on the floor. Continue to lock both knees are locked, both legs are tight, both legs are active. And if you want a little bit of an additional stretch, you can come all the way down. And lift your head up, come up, always taking care of the alignment, and step back. Okay, so I hope you guys are feeling all opened up. I definitely am. And so have a sip of water. We're going to take a small break. Have a sip of water. I'm also going to have a sip of water. And I'm feeling great. I really hope that you guys are also feeling great. And everyone in the office, I think, is also feeling great right now. Okay, cool. Great.
So I'm just going to let Pragya take a few breaths. She's a little out of breath and
take some water. Yeah.
So thank you for joining us again. I hope everything that Pragya has been showing so far has been useful to you. I hope you're trying this out at home as well. I'm just here to tell you a little bit more about HealthifyMe. If you don't know about us yet, go to www.healthifyme.com. Find out a bit about us. Please like our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. We're also Instagram.com, Twitter.com/HealthifyMe. That's HealthifyMe. So we are going to do more of such sessions with Pragya. She's our senior yoga coach. We have a team of fitness trainers, nutritionists as well. And we do hangout sessions with them as well. If you joined us in the month of January, you would have watched some of these sessions. Just for today, for those of you watching this session, we have an exclusive 20% off all of our premium plans. So just log into our website, create an account. If you already have an account, you can purchase a plan. The coupon code is YOGA20. That's YOGA20. So you can use this coupon code to get 20% off all HealthifyMe premium plans and get coached by experts like Pragya, and you met some of our experts in the previous session, Saravanan, Roshni. These are some of our fitness trainers, right? So keep the questions coming. The Hangouts, we are accepting a lot of questions for Pragya for this session, so keep them coming. Enter your questions below. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the session. I'm going to hand it back to Pragya now, and I'll come back in a while and take your questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Shruti. So it just occurred to me to ask everyone, how much water have you had so far? So I'm on my 3rd liter of water since the morning, and at HealthifyMe we believe in holistic health, and so I hope you guys are hydrated. I know it's a Saturday. I know a lot of you might have gone out, had fun with friends Friday night, but to detox, to keep your system clean, to keep yourself active, water is really essential. So I'm on my 3rd liter of water. I hope you guys are too. Okay, so the next asana is the pigeon pose. Now, the pigeon pose is also called the Kapottasana in Sanskrit, and there are many variations of the pigeon pose. All of them deal with, again, the hip opening and the hip flexors and strong legs, strong knees, and strong ankles as well. And in the Kapottasana, what you want to take care of, again, is the back. Okay? So you want to keep a straight back. So the way to come into the Kapottasana is to first start with the Anjaneyaasana, which is the asana that we just did. So you can take your right leg forward, left leg back, place the back knee on the floor, and then slowly start to walk the right leg out to the side and place your knee on the floor. Okay, so my thigh is resting on the floor, which is what you'll see when I do it on the other side. You'll see how the thigh rests on the floor. But what happens is most people end up doing this. Okay, now the Kapottasana is, I can go on and on about the Kapottasana. There's so many cues, there's so many things that go wrong. It is a little bit complex, but on the whole, if you want to do it right, just follow the cues that I'm going to give you in this video. So what you want to do is, if you see yourself doing this, it becomes easier. You say, okay, I'm not feeling anything. Rotate the back knee so that it's sitting on the floor. The thigh should also be sitting on the floor. And what you're doing with your hands is, a lot of people tend to do this, okay? And then they wonder why they're not feeling a stretch. So what you want to do is walk your hands back. Make cups with your fingers, with your hands. Place the fingertips on the floor and lift the chest up. Now this is your Kapottasana, okay, pigeon pose. So your chest open like a pigeon and your legs stretched out. So in this pose, again, try and get this hip bone squared with the other one. So you're like opening up the hip bone. You feel a stretch on the other thigh. You feel a stretch on this side. Basically, your whole entire body is opened up. And if you're more flexible, and this is not something that we're looking at in detail, but for a lot of you who are practicing yoga with me for a while now, you may be able to go a step further and grab a hold of the back leg. So this is something that's a little more complicated, a little more difficult, and it requires a little more flexibility. So those of you who are subscribed to a plan with us, you may be able to do this, and some of you may be able to go even further and grab a hold of both hands. So even in this, what happens is, I've seen people doing this. Okay, so the thigh comes up off of the floor. You're not feeling anything when you do that. That's incorrect alignment. You want to make sure the thigh is on the floor. Make sure your body is opened up, the torso is opened up, and you're holding both hands and look forward. Okay, and let's come out of it. And now let's do the Kapottasana on the other side. So I'm going to take my right leg back, left leg forward, back knee on the floor, really stretched back. And now we'll be able to see how the thigh is supposed to look from this side. So notice the back knee is on the floor, the back thigh is on the floor, and this thigh is also on the floor, and you're sinking down. Now if you do this is incorrect. What you want to try and do is keep the back as straight as possible, chest lifted up, gaze looking forward, and both hip bones level, so at an equidistance from a wall in front of you, and look forward and hold this. Keep your Abs a little tight, belly button pushed in, and try and sink the groin region as close to the floor as possible. Now, it's possible to do the pigeon pose with a lot of props. Like in Iyengar Yoga, we use blocks as well, wooden blocks, plastic blocks. And it's possible to use those blocks to help you open up a little bit more, but that's a subject for another video. Good. And then, once again, come out and sit in your Vajrasana. Give your body a little bit of time, give your legs a little bit of time to relax in the Vajrasana. And alternatively, you could also go into your child's pose. So, and that's everyone's favorite pose because it's so easy to do. So what you do in the child's pose is just walk your hands forward and make sure that your hips are actually resting on your ankles. Now, for those of you whose hips cannot rest on the ankles, place something under your hips, like over your ankles, like a pillow or something, or a bolster, so that the spine, the base of the spine is resting on something. You don't want it suspended. And at the same time, while the base of the spine is resting, the top of the spine should also rest on something. So the forehead has to come on the floor. Or if your forehead doesn't reach the floor, you can cross your arms and then place your forehead on the floor. But the idea in the child's pose is to relax the spine. Only then will your body relax. Okay, and now the last pose, which is one of my favorite poses, and I do this every day, every single day, because it is just amazing for opening up the back, loosening the back, getting rid of any kind of backache. It's just amazing. And I make all my students do this. Right before the Shavasana, I make sure that all my students sit in this pose for at least a minute or two. So the Firelog, it's called the Firelog pose. The Sanskrit name for this pose is the Agni Stambha Asana. So what you want to do is, so you're not crossing your legs. Okay, a lot of people tend to cross their legs. You take one leg 90 degrees. So my knee and my ankle are in one line. Take the other leg, this is my right leg, and again, get the knee and the ankle in one line. So essentially, your knee and ankle are on top of each other, and here as well. What a lot of people tend to do is their bottom leg slides in, and then they wonder why they can't get a stretch. What you want to do is make sure that the calves are aligned and the knee and the ankle are on top of each other. And once you do that, the same rules for forward bends apply. Keep your back straight, make sure the hip joint, the femur bone is pushed into the hip joint, and lean forward, keeping the back straight. Okay, keep the back straight, come all the way down, and by this time you should start feeling something in the lower back. If you tend to have lower back issues, you'll already start to feel something in the lower back, and you'll feel an intense stretch on the glutes and on the thighs. It is sometimes unbearable, the kind of stretch, the kind of pain you experience. It's sometimes really unbearable, and I've known of people who can only stay in this pose for 2 breaths. So the final pose is basically keep your back straight, come down, and keep the back as straight as you can. Reach out with your hands, and then try and place the forehead on the floor. And for those of you who cannot, not everyone can reach the floor, so you could actually bend your arms or place a block, a yoga block under your head, so you can rest your forehead also, or you can have a bolster, anything, a book, anything to sort of just rest the forehead. And while you do this, notice how tight the glutes are. I'm sure out of, I'm sure about 90% of you out there who are practicing this right now will feel a constraint in moving forward, because our hips and our thighs are hardly ever stretched this way. And about 95% of you who suffer from lower backache, this is the pose for you. This is the go-to pose. This is the pose that's going to fix that backache, that nagging lower backache that you have. This is the pose. In my experience, I've seen this pose usually fixes all lower backaches. So what you want to do now is do it on the other side. So if my right leg was on top, this time I'm going to take my right leg below, left leg on top, and the same thing, guys. It's really important. I cannot emphasize this enough. that the knee and the ankle have to be stacked on top of each other. So from this side, if you're doing this, this is wrong. This stretch doesn't do anything. But if you're doing this, this is what's really going to help you. This is what's going to keep your back straight also. Push the femur bones into the hip joints. Keep the back straight. Lead from the chest. So you're not curving the back and then coming down. You're leading with the chest, opening up the chest, opening up the shoulder blades, and then coming as far down as you can. Reaching out with your hands and dropping your forehead down. Even right now, I've already done about 3 yoga classes in the morning, and I can actually feel a release on my lower back. So if you have not done any of the poses that we've spoken about, do at least this one, and I swear it'll become your favorite yoga pose. And if you have a back issue, especially, please do this pose. This is going to solve it. This is going to actually solve your lower back pain. So this is called the Firelog pose. It's not a very popular pose. Very few people actually know about it or practice it, but it actually creates a traction in the spine. It actually creates space between the vertebrae of your lower back, and that's what causes that kind of release, that tension release, that pain release, which you cannot get if you only do this, because here you don't get that kind of extension of the back. So these are a few poses, for your back. There are many other poses that you can do for your lower back. Anything that that opens up your hips is really good for your lower back to keep your back straight. But what I would really suggest is instead of just spending about 20 minutes or 40 minutes on doing these poses which are going to extend the spine and release tension, what you really need to do is be regular. So use this video, use it. You've done it today, that's great. You've done it now. In the evening, do this video again. Just these 5 poses. You don't have to do anything complicated. Just these 5 poses or 6 poses that we've done will give you a lot of relief. So a lot of us know that we have to do this, we have to practice yoga, we have to practice stretches, but we don't do it. And so we are trying to make it easy for you by doing these Google Hangouts and putting these videos up on YouTube so that you can just access these videos and follow along with us. So these are the kind of things for yoga. Basically, I would really recommend that doing it regularly is more important than doing complex and difficult asanas. Another thing I would suggest for those of you who do suffer from backache is to actually practice these first thing in the morning. So what happens is, for a lot of people, the moment you wake up, you have a backache. You have problems bending forward. A lot of you may not even have noticed it, because as soon as you get up, you're just getting up and running out of the house, or just getting ready and running out of the house. You may never have noticed what it feels like to stretch the body a little bit, maybe to do some twists or bend forward. So I would really recommend try bending forward first thing in the morning. See if your back is stiff. If your back is stiff, this is the video that you need to do. And this is only 20 minutes or 40 minutes. This is what you need to do. In the night, after a long day, maybe you've been running, maybe you've done multiple workout sessions, maybe you've been sitting all day, and sitting, like I keep on saying, is the new smoking. So if you've been sitting on your office chair the whole day, and if on Saturdays and Sundays also you're working overtime, then you have to do this. You have to come home, you have to open this hangout and do these 5 poses. Do it for a week and get back to me. And if it does not make a difference, I will give you some more asanas, but believe me, just morning and evening, twice a day, if you're sitting constantly, is going to show you tremendous results. And it's going to have an impact not only on how you move and how you feel, but also on your state of mind. So that's another thing. And now I'm sure that I've been talking to a lot of you guys about this session, and a lot of you have come back to me with a lot of questions. And now is the time to answer those questions. So Shruti is back.
Yes. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the session so far. You've been trying out the asanas that Pragya has been demonstrating.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions, Pragya. There's one customer who's asked us, her name is Medha, she's asked us if you could suggest some asanas that a person suffering from tennis elbows and workout could do.
Okay, so basically for tennis elbow, what you need to do is you need to stretch a lot, stretch that pain away, stretch the stiffness away. Okay, so basic things like, for instance, interlocking your fingers together and straightening your arms. Okay, and now again, it's a simple movement, but it's actually not so simple, because what happens is people tend to do this, curve their spine, but there's no, we want the back to be straight and elbows to be locked, shoulders to be pushed down. Only then you get the maximum benefit of this stretch. Okay, and then the same thing, you can take your hands up, and again, notice that my hands are behind my ears. So what a lot of people do is this, and especially people with stiff muscles or people who are prone to tennis elbows, you'll never be able to do this. Actually, with a lot of practice, you'll be able to do this, but this is what we're trying to do. Keeping the spine absolutely straight, shoulder blades in line with the shoulders, with the elbows, and with the wrists. And just doing this a couple of times, and then of course you can make it a dynamic movement. Go out, come in, go out, come in. And again, it's not about complex yoga poses. It's about simple movements which give you a lot of results. And that's how we're helping, a lot of the clients, that's how HealthifyMe is helping so many people. Because we're not giving you very complicated things that you won't have time to do or you won't have the capacity to do. We're just telling you to be regular with the simple things. And you can definitely avoid things like tennis elbow just by doing these simple things. Wrist rotations is another thing that you could do. You could stretch your arms like this, and just keeping the joints flexible, taking care of your diet, making sure you eat a proper diet, you flex, you stretch. All of these things go a long way in helping with such simple things and such common things as a tennis elbow.
Okay. Another one of our Twitter users has asked, could you please suggest asanas that would help me improve my posture?
Yeah.
Something very common.
Yes, yeah. So this can be an hour-long video on its own, okay? But the simplest thing, okay, for people who want a better posture is to actually look, so the posture is related to the spine, okay? But yoga is about complements, okay, or complementary poses. So those people who have poor posture should look at their ab strength, okay? Usually people who have poor posture have very poor ab strength, and the moment you work on your abs, your abs will be able to support you to come up. Of course, it's not only about the abs, it is about the back as well. But look at that. Look at the complementary part of your body and see how that is, how that functions or how strong that is. That's number one. Number two, something very simple for you to do is just at home, whenever you're sitting to watch TV, sit on the floor with your back flat against a wall. So right now, my lower back is also touching the wall. My shoulder blades are touching the wall. And I'm going to stretch my legs out. Believe me, if you have a serious problem with your posture, this is very difficult. Just sit like this. This is very difficult for those people who have bad posture. When I sit like this, automatically my abs are engaged. And I don't have to do anything. I can be watching TV. I could be working on my laptop also, which I don't recommend. But and I don't recommend watching TV also. Basically, I recommend doing this and meditating. but this is something that would really help you. Okay. So, are there any questions from viewers? I know a lot of my premium clients are watching this. A lot of my friends are watching this. So, I would really like it if those guys who've seen the hangout have any questions about the the asanas that we've discussed for the finer points. And but in any case, let's continue.
Okay, so there's another one from Agesh Sharma. He says, my knee has been hurting for the past month or so, and I'm actually scared of starting yoga again. How can I get back to yoga? Okay, so knee injuries, any joint injury is something that I have to talk to you about. How did it happen? You say starting yoga again. Are you saying that you were practicing yoga and then you got the knee pain? So we have to really look at these issues. It's not really cut and dry, However, if you do have knee pain, it is indicative of a weak knee,
So what you want to do is try and do asanas which strengthen the thighs. Okay, so even if you've had knee surgery, and if you've been told not to bend your knee at a particular angle, even then we suggest that you can still do yogasanas, because we will prescribe asanas which are really good for your calves and your thighs. And when you do these asanas, even if you're bending your leg at the knee, because the thighs are strong, they can take a lot of the load. Okay, and no yogasana, none, is very intense on the knee, unless you go to very advanced levels. And even there, we try and distribute the body weight and the force of gravity, all of that, so that your ankle, your thighs and your calves take most of the weight. So I would say if you want to start yoga again, go for like an Iyengar Yoga class, which will work on alignment, which would help you in cultivating strength on your thighs. Don't just blindly go for any yoga class. Go for an Iyengar class, go for a good teacher, get a teacher home, learn a few moves, practice those on your own, and you'll be fine.
Okay. We have Samruddhi from Nagpur, and she says, I'm a liver donor. I want to strengthen my abdomen. Can you throw some light on this issue?
She wants to
strengthen her
abdomen. Okay. So basically, to strengthen your abdomen, so there are two components of this. One is like a flat stomach, and one is strong abdominal muscles. Okay, so if you've been practicing yoga, generally most yoga practitioners have very strong abdominal muscles. Again, you can tell this by people's posture. Those people who have poor posture do not have great abdominal strength. I mean, they don't have any abs. You'll never find someone who has 6-pack abs, 8-packs, 12-packs, with like bad posture. You'll always see that they have awesome posture because their abs are supporting them up. And generally, people who practice yoga under proper guidance, with people monitor, like how we do it, how we monitor people, how we, look at the finer points of the asana. These yoga practitioners will never have bad posture. So if you are looking at strengthening your abdominal muscles, practice things like the Surya Namaskar. Any yoga asana actually focuses on core strength. So whether it's a standing asana or a sitting asana, even just like this is the Sukhasana, you are using a lot of your core strength to hold yourself up. So practice yoga. That's the best way to sort of cultivate good strength in your abdominals.
Okay. And on the topic of practicing, we have one of our customers who's asked, Chaitra. She asks, if you practice yoga once a week, is it helpful in body toning? Once a week.
Well, yoga is helpful even like half a session a week. But I really urge everyone to incorporate yoga in any way possible 7 times a day, 7 times a week. I practice yoga more than 7 times a week. And it does great things for my mood. I know a lot of people who practice more than 7 times a week. Different classes, different teachers, different people that they practice with, sometimes in the park, sometimes in a studio. It works wonders. Yes, once a week also is going to give you immense results, but practice it at least 3 times a week for more results. Really try and live that yogic lifestyle. Really try and incorporate yoga into your daily routine. Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Deepti Shah.
Yeah.
And she asked if there are any asanas we can do to balance our hormones and control hyperthyroidism.
Yeah. Hi Deepti. So Deepti happens to be someone I'm working with.
Okay.
And thanks for your question. And thanks for watching. So yes, so for thyroid also, yoga works a lot on your internal well-being and your internal functions. So for thyroid, what we suggest is to basically massage the thyroid gland. So we have asanas such as the shoulder stand, the Sarvangasana, the Halasana. We have something called bandhas, which are neuromuscular locks. So you could do the Jalandhar bandha for your thyroid gland. There are many other asanas which really focus on the thyroid gland, on massaging the thyroid gland. There's something called the Ujjayi breath that you can practice for 10 minutes a day, and that really works on stimulating the thyroid gland. And the Sarvangasana is something that you could do every day. Halasana is something that you could do every day. It's hard to go wrong in these postures if you're doing it under like a trained teacher. It's hard to go wrong, and the thing to remember the most is to be patient. These are like 4 things that I mentioned for thyroid: the Halasana, Sarvangasana, Ujjayi breathing, and the Jalandhar Bandha. Only 4 things, but there's so many more that you can do. Basically, you'll benefit by incorporating these 4 in a regular yoga routine, like in an hour-long yoga routine. But the idea is to be regular and to be patient, and definitely you'll see results eventually.
Okay. One of our viewers here has asked, his name is Manju, and he says, thank you for the wonderful session. I usually wake up with nasal congestion. Any remedies you can suggest?
Yes, yeah. So if Manju lives in Bangalore, I can understand that that he has nasal congestion. The pollution contributes to it, as well as the trees. So those of you who live in cities which are not polluted might still get congestion, and trees that are around you. So the thing that works for me, because I'm also prone to this, the thing that works for me really well is Jal Neti. Okay, and now Jal Neti is something that looks very complicated, but it's something that's, once you start practicing, it's very simple. In fact, on the HealthifyMe platform, there are people, I've coached people online in how to do Jal Neti, which is something that's usually been done face to face or under with a teacher present. But we have seen a lot of success with helping people with Jal Neti online. So Jal Neti is the #1 thing that's really good for you. And otherwise, if your sinuses are not that clogged, if you don't have so much of a congestion, what you could do is practice Anulom Vilom Pranayam. So that basically generates a lot of heat in the body. It starts to sort of circulate air from one nostril to the other, sort of getting rid of any kind of congestion that could be present.
Okay. Samriti is back, and she says she's the one who asked a question about strengthening her abdomen.
Yeah.
And she says that the doctor said post-operation her abdomen will just be 75% its normal strength. So she says, can yoga ever get it back to normal?
Yes, definitely. So see, there are many things. Okay, I'm a huge believer in yoga. Yoga can help you levitate. If we have stories about people who are levitating, who are doing so many, who can lift themselves, who can defy gravity, then I don't think abdominal strength or six-pack abs is anything that yoga cannot do. Okay, and I'm a great believer of that because I have seen a lot of changes in myself, in a lot of other people through yoga. And yes, and doctors are great. They have their own beliefs, they have their own system of dispensing medicine and all of that. But I really do think that if you practice yoga daily, if you give it your 100%, if you really invest time and effort, then there is nothing that you cannot achieve. And definitely, you can change your body. If you look at my before and after photo, people are astounded. I look like a different person, and that's only because of yoga and taking care of myself and eating right. So yeah, to me, if you're going to ask me, okay, can my abdomen go back to what it was? Yes, of course, provided that you put in that 100%. If required, put in the 120%. But one thing I'll tell you is that if you put in 50%, it'll stay where it is. But if you're willing to, invest in yourself, invest in your time, then definitely you'll see a lot of changes. And I truly believe that. Yeah.
Great. So I think that we've come to the end of the questions from our viewers for today. And again, thank you for joining us. I think this brings us to the end of today's session. Okay. I just want to remind you again, if you liked what Pragya was showing on the videos, you can get access to experts like Pragya through the HealthifyMe platform. So if you've already downloaded our application and you're a user, I urge you to use the coupon code YOGA20, that's YOGA20, to get 20% off all our HealthifyMe premium plans. Just for today, this coupon is available only for the next 2 hours. So tell your friends, tell your family that yoga Pragya is awesome. You should come on our Facebook page, Instagram page, and Twitter page as well. We post a lot more tips about yoga-related tips, nutrition-related tips, and fitness-related tips regularly. So join us there, and I'll catch you back on our next Hangout session with HealthifyMe Do drop us your comments even after the session is over on what else you'd like to see, and we'll try organizing something around that. So thank you, Pragya, for joining us today.
Thank you guys for
joining.
Thank you guys
for being here.
Thank you.